Good evening and welcome to California Today. I'm Daniel Hall. Here's a preview of some of today's stories. San Francisco residents voted to recall 3 members of the school board. Organizers said they would have wanted to recall all 7. After the Los Angeles comeback win at the Super Bowl, the city held a parade in honor of the team. They're just the second NFL team to win on their home turf. And Southern California experienced 2 seasons in 2 days. The weekend's summer-like scorching heat was quickly replaced by wintry temperatures and hail. San Franciscans recalled 3 of the city's school board members on Tuesday night. The recall came after parents' frustration with members refusing to reopen schools during pandemic lockdowns. We hear more from NTD's David Lamb.
The votes are in, and 3 San Francisco school board members are out. San Francisco voters overwhelmingly voted to recall Allison Collins, Gabriela Lopez, and Fauga Moliga on Tuesday evening. The vote comes with the frustration locals had towards the board members' strict rules and frivolous activities during lockdowns. Board President Lopez, Vice President Moliga, and member Collins were ousted with at least 72% of the votes against each one of them.
Last night, during the race, the voters sent a clear message as it relates to the school board. They want to focus to be on the fundamental responsibility of the school district.
San Francisco Mayor London Breed clashed with the schools over reopening and later supported the recall. Siva Raj, one of the leaders of the recall campaign, said the drive was the board's deprioritized reopening. He told NTD's sister media, The Epic Times, the board was more focused on politics and really not about anything to do with educating our kids.
I mean, these people work really hard. This was a very grassroots effort, and I think that people should have the ability, if they have a concern with any elected leader, they should have the right to take a recall effort to the ballot.
Other organizers said they wanted all 7 members replaced, but only 3 had served long enough to face a recall. The 3 supported keeping classrooms closed and kept children in virtual learning until August 2021. Instead of moving to open schools, the 3 spent time on renaming school buildings, such as renaming schools named after George Washington and Abraham Lincoln. They were later criticized for inaccurate research and ignoring student struggles with online learning in early 2021. Asian American parents became particularly active in the effort after the board attempted to end merit-based admissions to a prestigious local high school. Asians make up the majority of the high school's student body. Despite a general election being scheduled for later this year, Breed said in a statement that voters have delivered a clear message. Now that the 3 school board members are out, Breed will choose their replacements. David Lamb, NTD News, San Francisco.
Students across California held several protests against mask mandates in schools on Tuesday. At Oak Ridge High School in El Dorado Hills, protesting students said they were tired of wearing masks in the classroom. As a result, the El Dorado Union High School District announced Tuesday afternoon that it will not change masking requirements, but it will change enforcement policies. The district said students will be asked to wear a mask, but they will no longer be physically removed from the classroom or receive a discipline consequence. A California group wrote a bill that would let parents choose how to educate their children. The bill would reallocate tax dollars spent on public schools to a trust fund for the child. They're trying to get it onto the ballot this November. NTD's Eileen Ng hears more from the parents and chairman of the initiative.
The California School Choice Initiative spent 2 years drafting a bill that would give parents control as to how their children will be educated with their tax dollars. The bill, called the Educational Freedom Act, would allow parents to decide how they will spend $14,000 per child per year on education.
I fully support empowering parents to make the best decision they can make on their children's behalf. Really, as parents, if we don't go to bat for our kids, no one else will.
It would operate like an opt-in program. Parents can create an education savings account for their K-12 children.
That account, which is a trust account, will annually be credited with that child's share of basic California education funding known as Prop 98. That amount under the governor's current budget is about $15,000 per year.
If parents feel their children are not learning in public school, they can pull them out and get to invest their $14,000 elsewhere in the form of homeschooling, private schools, charter schools, and more.
Oh, it could be math. I'm really interested in the Russian School of Math. They have a facility here in San Mateo in our county. It could be science. It could be any number of things where my children would benefit, whether athletic or scholastic.
We recognize parents as the first educators. We recognize parents as the persons who have a natural, a divine right to direct the moral, religious, and intellectual formation of their own children, free of government coercion through the tax system.
Any leftover money can go towards college, vocational training, or other qualified educational expenses. The cutoff age will be 30 years old. There are concerns about potentially less funding for public schools if the money follows the child.
My sort of personal perspective on it is I'm willing to trade the bottom 10 or 15% of the worst performing schools, allow them to close if new schools are going to open up in their place that will be better. And so all the kids who used to be in the failing school are now in a better school.
When those people who need special attention get those special attention, whoever's left, those who are staying in public schools will receive more attention that they needed. So this is not just for people who are leaving public school, but for people who are staying in public school as well.
The California School Choice Initiative will need to collect over 1 million signatures by April 11th to make it on the ballot this November. Eileen Ang, NTD News, California.
The Los Angeles Rams won their first Super Bowl in more than 20 years Sunday night with a 23-20 win over Cincinnati. Though the partying started immediately after the game, today the city officially celebrated it on the streets. NTD's Dave Martin has more.
LA Rams stars Matt Stafford, Cooper Kupp, and Aaron Donald celebrated their Super Bowl championship with a victory parade Wednesday in front of thousands of fans. Players were riding high in double-decker buses holding the Lombardi Trophy. Fans dressed in Rams attire came from all over the area to cheer their team. Sean McVay's squad came from behind in the fourth quarter Sunday to win a thriller 23-20 over the Cincinnati Bengals, and LA has been celebrating ever since.
LA loves you, right? You're number one in this house. Our house. Whose house? Our house.
The Rams are the third LA sports team to win titles in the last 2 years, though the Dodgers and Lakers didn't get a victory parade because of COVID. LA wasn't necessarily expected to win a Super Bowl this year in the league with Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, and Patrick Mahomes, but after beating Arizona soundly in the first round of the playoffs, they won their last 3 games by 3 points apiece.
It was a rough road, but they came through.
The Rams loaded up with stars Matt Stafford, Jalen Ramsey, and Von Miller by trading a number of future draft picks in recent years. The move paid off as the team won their first Super Bowl since 1999. Dave Martin, NTD News.
Los Angeles law enforcement says authorities rescued more than 80 human trafficking and sexual exploitation victims, including children, during a week-long operation. It also netted hundreds of arrests.
But one of the things that is disturbing is a lack of prosecution. For a lot of the crimes involving human trafficking are misdemeanor crimes. And right now, the district attorney in LA is not prosecuting hardly any misdemeanors.
The Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department says 74 adults and 8 children were rescued, and 34 suspected traffickers were arrested. The Los Angeles Police Department said it made 194 arrests and rescued 4 people. About 200 sex buyers were also taken into custody. Sheriff Alex Villanueva also expressed his concern after completing the successful operation. The annual Operation Reclaim and Rebuild was held last week and coincided with the run-up to the Super Bowl in Los Angeles. Speaking of those two things, it's hot, then it's cold. The region experienced drastic weather changes in only a span of 2 days. But just as people take their coats out, they can get ready to put them away again. We hear more from NTD's Cynthia Kai.
The summer-like heat on Sunday in Los Angeles County reached a high of 87 degrees near SoFi Stadium. Temperatures then dropped to 80 in time for the Super Bowl kickoff. But the unseasonable heat didn't stay for long. Los Angeles welcomed back winter as it blanketed areas with hail on Tuesday. The thin layer of hail made the area look like a winter wonderland. By Tuesday night, temperatures dipped to 46 degrees as genuine snow powder covered parts of LA. Pretty sure we had a heat advisory with temps 80 to 90 degrees just 2 days ago, the Los Angeles National Weather Service tweeted Tuesday. Forecasters say last week's high-pressure system along the coast was replaced by a fast-moving cold low from the north. The quick flip from hot to cold is rare, but not unheard of. Summer-like weather characterizes most of Southern California. Low-pressure systems that bring cold temperatures and precipitation are more common in winter. But another high-pressure system is moving into the region, and winter may take another brief vacation away from the City of Angels. Cynthia Kai, NTD News, California.
A driver was found with bomb-making materials in the trunk of his car at a California naval base. The main entrance of the North Island Naval Air Station near San Diego closed down on Tuesday after the fighting. A military spokesperson said the driver had bomb-making materials, though they were not combined into a weapon, according to the San Diego Union Tribune. The vehicle approached the gate at about 9 a.m. Officials from the Naval Criminal Investigative Service, or NCIS, requested the car be stopped and searched. The driver was detained for questioning. The base remained accessible through the other two gates. Naval Air Station North Island is one of the 8 U.S. bases that make up Naval Base Coronado. Coming up, Google will keep its tracking technology on its Android phones for at least 2 years. The announcement comes after speculations on the company's plan when Apple upset the advertisement industry by restricting a similar tool. And California's supply of avocados may be in peril. The USDA recently banned Mexican imports of the favored fruit, and restaurant owners are preparing for high prices. That and more here on NTD News. California soon may be able to set its own vehicle emission standards again. The Biden administration is finalizing a waiver for the state, allowing it to set stricter standards. A member of California's Air Resource Board said the state won't use the waiver to set stricter standards on cars and light trucks. Instead, the state will follow Biden's EPA standards. The move is a reversal of a 2019 Trump administration rollback. An EPA spokesman says the agency's final decision on the waiver is expected soon. Google will keep its tracking technology on its Android phones for at least 2 years. This is after speculation on the company's plan when Apple upset the advertisement industry by restricting a similar tool. Google said on Wednesday it would keep alive a tracking technology on its Android phones that is relied upon by advertisers for at least 2 years. The comment has eased speculation about the company's plan after Apple Incorporated frustrated the ad industry by restricting a similar tool. Alphabet Inc.'s Google said it would give substantial notice before axing what is known as Ad ID. But it will immediately begin seeking feedback on its proposed alternatives, which Google said aims to better protect users' privacy and curb covert surveillance. Advertisers, app makers, and hundreds of small ad tech companies had expected changes to Ad ID after a change from Apple last April. Apple forced software makers to seek user permission to track behavior across multiple apps through its comparable tool called IDFA. Facebook owner Meta said this month it expects to lose $10 billion in ad sales this year due to Apple's change. IDFA and Ad ID help in determining relevant ads and identifying subsequent purchases. But as users declined tracking, advertisers matched spending. Google and Apple have faced pressure over the past few years from regulators and new laws to give users greater control over the data apps collect. An earlier move by Google to eliminate tracking technology in its Chrome browser by the end of 2023 led some of the company's ad tech rivals to complain to competition authorities. California had to shut down its biggest battery storage system for the second time in 6 months. Vistra Corp was once again forced to shut down part of its Monterey Bay-based battery storage system after some components malfunctioned. In a February 15th statement, the company said it took its 100-megawatt Moss Landing battery facility offline late on Sunday. Vistra Corp said a water hose began leaking. It caused some batteries to short, creating smoke in the facility. No injuries were reported. Jim Phelps, an engineer and analyst with 35 years of experience in the power industry, has warned against such battery systems. He wrote, "Batteries are cited to be the cure-all for wind and solar, storing intermittent energy if the grid is unable to accept it, but problems persist." Phelps listed understated risks, battery fires, and battery overheating, not to disregard a battery's limited hours of service. Vistra wrote that their neighboring 300-megawatt system was slowly being brought back online after the incident. The 49ers' long court battle over parking for Levi's Stadium events will soon be settled if the 49ers accept the city's new settlement.
The 49ers may be settling a 3-year-long lawsuit against the city of Santa Clara. The Superior Court of California released a conditional settlement on Tuesday over a parking dispute between the two. As per the settlement, the 49ers will pay Santa Clara $325,000 instead of $1 million. In the original lawsuit from 2018, the 49ers claimed they overpaid $1 million for overflow parking in a Santa Clara city-owned golf course near their stadium. The two originally agreed in 2014 to share the golf course for event parking. The football team was to cover any revenue lost due to lack of parking for golfers. The 49ers claimed the bill did not accurately reflect lost revenue. The next conference between the two will be on February 23rd.
California's pension fund purchased hundreds of thousands of shares of an electric car maker. One analyst said that the state's pension funds are taking on more risk after low funds from the pandemic. CalPERS, the largest U.S. pension plan, took stake in electric vehicle startup Rivian, according to a recent security filing released Monday. CalPERS, which manages about $492 billion, bought just over 305,000 shares in the company. Sovereign investor specialist Global SWF said the move illustrates a greater appetite for risk among U.S. pension funds with assets lower than liabilities. This comes as the pensions face funding gaps since the pandemic started. According to fund tracker Whale Wisdom, CalPERS was joined by 6 other state pension funds, including Texas, Maryland, Utah, Colorado, North Carolina, and Wisconsin. Rivian's shares dropped nearly 10% on Monday after a disclosure last week that other investors like George Soros and Tiger Global added shares in the company last quarter. Rivian's stock prices have hovered around half of its debut last November, the largest of 2021. Both Disneyland and Disney World announced that masks will be optional for fully vaccinated guests in most outdoor and indoor locations starting Thursday. Both Disney Parks locations will still require face coverings indoors for unvaccinated visitors ages 2 and older. In certain indoor settings like Disney shuttles, transportation, and in first aid, masks are required regardless of vaccination status. But they are now optional in outdoor areas for fully vaccinated individuals. The United States is suspending imports of Mexican-grown avocados. Restaurateurs serving up the fruit are now feeling the pressure as supplies dwindle and prices rise. Whether it's sushi rolls or burgers, California is synonymous with avocados on menus. Now, the state's supply of the iconic fruit may be in trouble. The USDA announced on Monday that it is suspending avocado imports from Mexico. The suspension comes after U.S. inspectors were verbally threatened in Mexico's western Michoacan state. Now, restaurateurs who specialize in using the fruit are feeling the heat. Piero Sanchez, manager of Baja Cantina in Los Angeles, said the news is super concerning.
The fact of the matter that the restaurant industry, we've been walloped with prices on everything. So the fact of the matter that there's now another thing that's going to affect us is just nonstop.
On top of supply chain woes and pandemic restrictions, restaurants are facing a new shortage of the popular fruit.
It's really difficult for the mom and pop just trying to get ahead. These last 2-3 years have just been tumultuous, it's just been chaotic, so it's just another thing.
The USDA's Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service inspects all avocado crops, and any marked before February 11th can still make it through.
We specialize on freshness on our food, so avocados, we want to make sure we have enough to get us by. Realistically, we have enough for about 2 to 3 days until we start seeing our pricing kind of change.
Sanchez said they'll start looking for alternative sources if necessary.
We'll move ahead, we'll move forward, we'll find viable solutions. If that is purchasing through California avocados, we'll find a way to get that guacamole on that plate. I can guarantee you that.
Michoacan is both Mexico's top avocado producing state and the only one certified to export to the United States. However, drug gangs are also prevalent in the southwestern state. Details on the threats have not been publicized. Now to NTD's Thomas Christian for an update on sports.
I'm Thomas Christian, giving you the California Today Sports Roundup. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Kyler Yamamoto, Zach Hyman, and Evander Kane scored third-period goals as visiting Edmonton rallied past Los Angeles to give new head coach Jay Woodcroft his third victory in 3 tries. Connor McDavid added a goal and Mike Smith made 30 saves for the Oilers, who pulled even with the Kings and the Anaheim Ducks for third place in the Pacific Division, all with 55 points. Edmonton has outscored its opponents 11-3 since Woodcroft was named the coach on Thursday after Dave Tippett was fired. Arthur Kaliev and Philip Denault scored goals for the Kings, who were playing for the first time in 13 days. The Kings returned to the ice after recording a point in every game of a 6-game road trip. Oilers 5, Kings 2. A week after he was forced to drop out of the men's individual competition at the Beijing Games, American figure skater Vincent Hsu described his difficult days in COVID-19 isolation, contemplating the medal he might have won. Hsu, who beat Beijing gold medalist Nathan Chen for the Skate America Grand Prix title in October, said he was beyond thrilled for Chen and fellow teammate Jason Brown for their results, but admitted he was unable to watch the competition. The 21-year-old California native competed in last week's team event, in which the United States won silver, only to find out the next day that he had tested positive for COVID-19. Breaking his silence for the first time since posting a tearful video on Instagram to break the news last week, Hsu said he had spent his time in isolation by keeping up his physical training, responding to messages, and taking time to breathe. Hsu said he was shocked at his positive test. He had taken every precaution short of moving to Antarctica, chewing with his mask and other extreme measures, and that his symptoms had been no worse than a mild cold and a sore throat. Hsu said that there were moments of happiness too, such as when he received messages of support from famous personalities and many others. He will be back in the competition for next season starting shortly, as well as the exhibition gala to close off the Beijing Games at the weekend. Last Sunday's Super Bowl broadcast attracted an average television audience of about 101 million viewers, roughly 10% above last year's National Football League championship, according to Nielsen data released on Tuesday. The Super Bowl typically draws the year's biggest television audience in the United States, though viewership for the marquee NFL matchup has been dwindling since it peaked in 2015 at 114.4 million. This year's game outside of Los Angeles, California, required ticket holders to show proof of vaccination or a negative COVID-19 test and wear a mask, though the mask requirement appeared not to have been enforced. The 70,000-plus crowd at SoFi Stadium more closely resembled pre-pandemic matchups than last year's Super Bowl in Tampa, Florida, where attendance was limited to one-third capacity. The halftime show's star-studded lineup, headlined by Dr. Dre and other musicians, drew in viewers who came just for the performances, according to Samba TV, a firm that gathers viewing data from internet-connected TVs. The number of households that tuned in just to watch the performance was up 60% from 2021, according to Samba. Some of those viewers who were attracted by the halftime show stayed through the second half of the game, they found. As always, I'm Thomas Christian, and thanks for tuning in.
That's all we have for you tonight. We'd love to have you back on California Today every weekday at 8:30 p.m. Feel free to let us know if you have any news tips for our show. We're also on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. I'm Daniel Hall. We'll see you next time.